Good afternoon, everyone. So, I thought I would make a video about story time. And yes, I'm in the car, but I'm not driving, and I do have my seatbelt on. I just don't have it on correctly. So, I do have it on now, guys. It chokes me, so I have to literally put this dang thing in the back. So, anyway, I thought that I would talk about how I got pregnant at 15. So, seeing how a lot of my story bases are around my kids, I thought that I would share my pregnancy and how dramatic it was. Well, at least it was dramatic to me because I was 15. So, anyway, so I met my kids' father at the end of 93, beginning of 94. So I was 13 at the time when I met him, but we didn't do anything till I was 15. And so basically one night, we were hanging out and, whatever. We did the dirty. Is that what they say nowadays? The dirty? The dirty. Anyway, we did the dirty. I guess that sounds better than saying sex. Anyways, so we did the dirty, as I said. So that was in December. I hadn't really thought about me missing my period in December. And I only had sex once. And let me tell you, as a 15-year-old, you hear how, in school, whatever, and your parents are always telling you, it only takes one time to get pregnant, whatever. But I don't think that as a child you really believe that. So, I got pregnant my first time having sex. And so then what happened was my mother has a calendar that every month, because there's me, my sister Jennifer, my sister Janelle, my aunt Debbie, not my mom. She had a hysterectomy, so she didn't have her menstrual. And then my cousin Heather was living there, my cousin Esther was living there too, staying there. So my mom made us write down every month when we got our period, and so basically she could buy our menstrual stuff every month around the same time, because she was a single mom, so she had to budget for that stuff. Not only that, but she also was keeping track because I was on birth control, and I had been on birth control since I was 11. But don't think that I was on birth control because I was sexually active, because that's not the case. I was on birth control at 11 because I had started my period when I was 11. And I guess I went on birth control when I was 12 because I got my period when I was 11. And for that first year, I would get a period and then I wouldn't get a period, or then sometimes I would bleed for 3 months in a row, and then nothing. So my mom took me to the doctor and she said, I'm not really big on putting an 11-year or a 12-year-old on birth control, but I think this is what we have to do to get her periods regulated. This is the safest thing, the less dramatic thing to do. So I went on the birth control and it did help. So I don't want anyone to think that I was skipping my pills and that's why I got pregnant, because I know as soon as someone says that, oh, I got pregnant on the birth control pills, the first thing people will say is, well, she must not have been taking it right. No, every day at 5 o'clock I would take my birth control pill because my mother would take her blood pressure pill, so she always made sure that I took my pill. And even if I went somewhere, overnight somewhere, she would pack it for me and then she would call me and be like, did you take your pill? So I always took my pill. Now I can't say that there might have been a time when I was on antibiotic or whatever, and that might have been the reason why. I can't say that for sure, because I did get ear infections a lot. So anyway, January 1st came and I went and hung out with Mark, and we went to his friend's house for New Year's Eve, and he bought me a big thing of Fuzzy Navels. Yes, I know, I was 15, shouldn't have been drinking, blah blah blah, I know. So anyway, I wanted Fuzzy Navels, so he bought me a big thing of Fuzzy Navels, and I knew something was wrong, because as soon as is, like, he opened it. The smell made me so sick. I was like, I can't drink it. He was like, what's your problem? I'm like, I can't. I'm sick. I feel nauseous. Like, the whole night I just felt kind of weird and nauseous. So the next day, on January 2nd, it's really weird, my mom came up into my room and she's like, come on downstairs, I want you to take this pregnancy test. I was like, what, are you crazy? Get the heck out of my face with that. Like, I've never had sex, so stop acting like that. I'm on the birth control pill. Like, I was like really upset that she even brought this to my attention. And she was like, well, you didn't mark on the calendar this month that you had your period, the month of December. I'm like, okay, so I literally just forgot. It's not that serious. And she was like, oh no, not only did you not forget to to mark it on the calendar, but you also didn't use any of your feminine products. And I'm like, oh shoot, how am I gonna get out of that, you guys? And I was like, well, I was like, I think I was staying at April's that week. Is actually what I remember this part now. I was like, I had stayed at my friend's, and she's like, I don't think so, Jamie. And she's like, you get yours for 10 days. You were not gone somewhere for 10 days. And so anyway, so I was like, whatever, we'll just take the test. So I went downstairs, I took the test. And my mom literally stood in the bathroom with me and watched me pee on this stupid thing because I don't know, I think she thought that I would just dip it or whatever. And then we had a wash machine in the bathroom, so she sets it on there. And my mom's like just standing next to this thing. And I swear to God, like 5 hours went by, but it was only legitly like 3 minutes. And it was like negative. And I was like, see, Mom, I told you. I don't know why you bothered me with this. I had never had sex before or anything. So I walked out the bathroom, and next thing you know, she's like, Jamie Lynn, get in here. And I went back in there, and sure enough, y'all, this stupid thing was positive. And very positive. So I didn't know what to do. I looked at my mom, and like, she didn't know whether to laugh, cry. I didn't know. So I took off at a dead run. And my aunt lived in the same town as us, and just right down the road. I took off to my aunt's house, and if you guys have been following me for a little bit, y'all know that I had basically lived at my aunt's. You know, I stayed with her all the time. And so I get down there, and I was like, hey Brenda, lock the door, lock it. And she was like, what's wrong? I'm like, I can't tell you because you're gonna hate me. I'm like, just lock the door, Mom's on her way. She was like, no, I'm not locking the door, tell me what happened. I'm like, I'll tell you what happened, but you promise you can't hate me and you can't yell at me until later. And so I was like, hey Brenda, I'm pregnant. She's like, oh my God, put the kitchen table in front of the door, hurry up. It was so funny. Now looking back, it was funny. I'm sure I wasn't laughing at that point, y'all. But so my mom was like banging on the door. She's like, let me in. I'm like, no, I don't want to die. I don't want to die. So she was like, come on, I'm not even mad, but we gotta talk about this and the next steps or whatever. So she finally talked me into opening the door, in which she was calm. She really was, and she was like, I need to know who the dad is. And I didn't want to tell her Mark because, remember, y'all, he is way older than me. And so she knew. And she's like, you gotta call your dad. I'm like, I'm not calling my dad. Are you crazy? Like, call my dad? No way. She's like, well, you are. You want to have a baby and you want to be an adult. You want to do all these things. Now you have to call your dad. I'm like, Mommy, I only had sex once. It's not my fault. I didn't do it. She's like, oh, so now it's you had sex once. First it was I didn't have sex. Now it's I had sex once. I'm like, well, you know I did. So it was funny. So then I had to call my dad, and I was so nervous, y'all. Like, I was shaking. Yo, I was so scared. But I was like, what's he really gonna do to me? And so he's living in North Carolina at this time. And now I remind you, if you guys have been watching me, like, you know that my dad and I really didn't talk at that point. Now my dad and I are best friends, but we didn't talk at this point. So I called him up, he's at work, and I was like, Dad, I gotta tell you something. He's like, what? I'm like, I'm pregnant. And I just came out with it. I'm like, what is it? That's what I'm gonna do. He's like, oh my God, I'm gonna be a grandpa. Like, he was excited. Like, he's like, I wish you were a little older, you know. 15's really young, but he was happy for me. Like, and, you know, he was like, but the guy better, you know, whoever you're pregnant by better stand up and be a man, and I don't want to have to teach this boy how to be a man, you know. And of course, I didn't dare tell my dad that, you know, Mark was 15 years older than me. I was scared to tell that part, so I just left that part out. I made my mom do that. And my dad was really mad about that part, y'all. And but you know, so then whatever, we all came together, whatever, and my mom did kind of get Mark in trouble and things like that. She kind of had to, but that's a whole different story. I'm not gonna go into that. But yeah, so that was my pregnancy story, and I ended up, you know, getting married at 16 and getting my own place and having 4 more children with Mark. So I mean, it all turned out okay. And you know, being pregnant brought me and my dad back together. You know, right after the baby was born, he came and showed up and whatever, and he's been part of my life ever since. So that you know, some good things did come out of this, and I'm glad that I had a baby when I did, because I think I was starting to head down a bad path in my teenage years or whatever. So I'm glad that Sierra came, and you know, do I think that it's okay to be teenager and pregnant? I mean, I obviously would tell anybody to wait, you know, live a little, but I really hate when people make comments that, oh, babies ruin your life, you can't go to college, you can't do this, you can't do that. No, that's not even true. You know, the determination is, it's how you choose to live your life. I still went to school. I got my diploma. I went to college. I got a job. I took care of my kids. All my kids have the same dad. Like, you know, I wasn't one of the statistics that these people always want to claim. And my daughter Cassidy is the same way. She's, you know, she had her baby, her son, when she was 14. And look at her. She works 2 jobs. She's a full-time college student at a big Ivy League school college. And she is doing wonderful. And she's a great mom. And so, I mean, there are teenagers who, you know, have babies but still take care of their business at the end of the day. So, you know, I just thought that I would share my story with you guys about being 15 and pregnant, and I'm sure you guys will hear more stories later on about stuff like that. But yeah, so that's my story. Alright, thanks all for watching. Bye.